Aloha and welcome to Connection to the Cosmos with your host, me, Dr. Lisa Thompson, where I have out-of-this-world conversations with extraordinary people. Today, I'm really excited to have on Ceirra Hargan. We're going to bring her on in just a moment, but first, just a couple of announcements. If you have not had the opportunity to grab my free 20-minute meditative journey to meet your galactic guides, make sure you do that at mysticmanta.com or drlisajthompson.com. Also, if you are already a healer and you want to increase your healing abilities and add on a modality, perhaps increase your income in your business, then my Galactic Ascension Channel certification program is being held February 22nd and 23rd online. And I'm also hosting my Galactic Retreat here on the Big Island of Hawaii. That's April 30th to May 4th. And we're going to do deep dive work into connecting with your galactics and really learning how to channel their energy. And all of that information is at drlisajthompson.com and mysticmanta.com. And then if you're coming to the Big Island of Hawaii at any time throughout the year, then come see me on one of my Big Island UFO tours, where you will see the night sky in a whole new way using the Advanced Generation 3 military night vision goggles. So information about that is at bigislandUFOtours.com. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Ceirra. Hello, Ceirra.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, let me share your bio, and I am looking forward to this conversation with you. Ceirra Hargan has devoted her life to helping other people discovering their truest soul's essence after her own battle with addiction. She specializes in many different modalities, including quantum healing, divine blueprint activation through light language, and empowerment coaching, where she teaches her clients to channel their own higher guidance, speak light language, meditate, and provides guidance in all aspects of their lives. She's the creator of Divine Blueprint Activation, a powerful technique used to read and upgrade the beautiful divine blueprint you came into this life with. Okay, so based on what we talked about before we got on here onto the recording, we do have some things in common. So I'm really looking forward to this. First, though, I would love for you to share with the audience kind of how you grew up, spiritual, religious, something else, so that we can then get into the transition of how you got into this work.
Yeah, so I actually didn't grow up connected to anything when I was younger, but it really just felt like me and my 3D reality and my addictions from a very early age. So even from a young age of probably 5 or 6, I was binge eating. I was never taught how to stop eating when I was full. And so just my parents did the best that they could, the best that they knew how to, but I never knew how to handle my emotions. And so I was constantly just going outside of myself, trying to make myself feel better, trying to push down my emotions because I didn't understand them. So I never had any spiritual experiences when I was younger. I was just in addiction at such a young age. And then it turned into an alcohol addiction by the time I was in high school, and then it turned into using harder drugs, and then it turned into a heroin and fentanyl addiction by the time I was 21.
Wow.
And it wasn't until I was actually able to get out of that addiction when I finally knew it was time to start bettering myself and making changes in my life, when I actually had my first spiritual experiences.
Okay, well, that's quite an, first part of your life, really challenging for sure. And I'm sure you've learned many lessons from that. But I would love for you to share about that spiritual experience that you had that really helped you get into now the life that you have.
Yeah. So I had this incredible opportunity to move to New York City. So I was deep into addiction. I had the most sobriety I'd ever had in my life was probably 4 or 5 months. And then I was just obsessing over working out. And I ended up hurting myself because I just replaced one addiction with another. And so when I got into my fentanyl addiction, when I finally knew, like, something inside of me just said that it was time to get sober. And I had this incredible opportunity to move to New York City. Me and my boyfriend took it, and I started doing Joe Dispenza's work. And I will bring up Joe Dispenza in every single interview I do.
Real quick, just so you know, I know him. He was my chiropractor when I was a teenager, and we went to the same spiritual school of enlightenment.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. I've met him also. I was actually at one of his very first workshops in Colorado when he just started doing like weekend workshops here and there. Yeah, he's incredible. And his work truly changed my life. Like, I feel like it gave me all of the tools that I needed to break free from that addiction. And I was really at a place where I was going to die or I was going to make healthy changes in my life. And so when I started meditating, when I started using his work, I started getting like glimpses that maybe there is something more to this life than I'd ever been taught or that I'd ever known. I started using like walking meditations to see myself sober. And then as I started meditating more and more and more, that's when like the Octurians started coming to me. And I had never felt connected to anything like that before. I didn't even know of aliens at this point or extraterrestrials. And I was actually, there was one meditation in specific where I was deep into meditation, and all of a sudden towards the end of it I was kissed on the forehead by an alien, and I didn't know anything about extraterrestrials, so I like my eyes just popped open. It was like
Well, how did you know that it was an ET?
I just got like the clearest vision. Like
Okay.
it looked just like the images that we see, like just
Yeah.
a blue being that felt so warm and loving, and she kissed me on the forehead. And then after that, that's when I started getting like these feelings that I was connected to the Octurians, and this being was with me since that moment. And then I started connecting with them more and more. But I would say the biggest spiritual experience I had, getting off of like heroin and fentanyl, was I was in withdrawal because I finally decided to quit. I knew it was time. It was 4 days of sobriety, and I went into full Kundalini awakening. So I was doing breath work just to get through the withdrawal because I hadn't slept in 4 days. So I really just wanted to get some sleep. And in that moment, doing breath work, I was just laying on the floor laughing. And I had like that first experience where like I just felt like I was one with everything. And I knew there was more to this life. And it was this feeling of bliss. And I had like chased everything outside of myself for so long that was the first moment where I was like, wow, it's really been within me this entire time.
Beautiful. Well, so I know that one of the things that you had shared with me is that the Arcturians actually, you had a walk-in experience. So I would love for you, for people who don't know what a walk-in is, because some people are, okay, what is that? Just explain that experience and how you knew that is what was happening.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting because I didn't even know it was a walk-in until really recently when I felt her leave my body.
Okay.
So, she left once I fully stepped into my sovereignty, and you could say like my training was completed. So what happens is there are extraterrestrials here to help us that we can make certain contracts with them, especially because I was in addiction my entire life and I didn't know that there was anything more. My consciousness was down here and it needed to raise all the way up here in a very short amount of time for the things that I wanted to do. And so she came in and she helped me raise my consciousness in a very, very short amount of time. And then she also taught me divine blueprint activation, which is the modality that I bring into this world. And so these beings are here to help us, to guide us. An actual walk in is when you actually cohabitate your body with these beings. So it felt like she was just always there. like I wasn't actually completely aware that we were sharing the same body,
Mhm.
but it makes sense now looking back at it because she was always there. She was always supporting me. We were talking telepathically all day long. So I'm very clairaudient. I do a lot of BQH and hypnotherapy, and I was able to experience all of her past lives like they were my own. I was able to experience like the divine gifts that she brought into the world because she does divine blueprint activation. She has the access to divine blueprints of planets in the galactic realm. And so I was given access to all of this just by having her as a walk-in.
Okay, well, that's incredible. And I would say, so when I first met my Arcturians, it was back in 2018. And I knew ETs, but I didn't know the Arcturians. And so again, like you, these beautiful blue beings were in front of me, and you're right, they look just like the images. And so very similar. I love that healing energy that they bring forth to earth, and that's one of the things that I love, having conversations with people like you that experience that and bring that energy forth like I do, because we need that on the planet right now. So I would love for you to share more about the kind of work that you do, because light language was something that came online for me a few years ago as well. And so we do have a lot in common. And I would love for you to share more about like all of this that came through and the work that you do.
Yeah, so it started with BQH. So Beyond Quantum Healing is just like QHHT. It's a form of QHHT, but it just gives you a little bit more leniency to so that I could start working with Nocturians. And it was actually in BQH where I just started intuitively like working through people's chakras and kind of listening to the guidance the Nocturians were telling me to do. And it's really beautiful because I just started listening to BQH sessions here and there when I was interested about the Octurians, and I just knew that was it for me. I just knew that was the direction I needed to go. So I was actually certified in BQH before I even had a session on myself because I knew that's what it was. And so I followed that. I allowed them to guide me as all of this information was coming in. And it was very overwhelming at first because, especially since I never felt connected to anything, all of a sudden it was like, you're connected to these races that are so loving and so big, and you've had all of these past lives. It's very overwhelming. And I had to do a lot of work around worthiness. Um, and for a long time, I think I put that Octurian aspect on a pedestal. And I saw her because she later explained to me that she's a parallel version of me that's guiding me. And so for a long time, I put her on a pedestal that was like, she's higher than me, or like, she's more loving than me, or she's more spiritually gifted than me. And I think the greatest thing that I have learned is that she's not above me. Like, me and her are the same. And I think a lot of times we do give our power away to the galactics because it's the first time we feel that like real 5D love. And it's the first time that we can even see that there's a different way to live, that we don't have to live this way. And so it took a lot of work around worthiness to learn that she's not higher than me. And if anything, all my guides are always like, Ceirra, we think that way of you because you're in the trenches of this 3D experience.
Very challenging, dense earth school, right? That we signed up to be a part of.
Exactly. So anybody listening to this, just know that you're doing it and you're in it, and they love you so much for being here and just for being you and holding space.
Yeah.
So, I was certified in BQH, and then I started working with the Octurians. So I started working through their chakras of my clients. And divine blueprint activation, each chakra holds a different blueprint of your spiritual abilities, and of the gifts that you bring into this life. So it's my job to bring you back to your truest soul's essence, to realign you to your soul's purpose, and to clear and cleanse your energy so that we can get to that blueprint.
Beautiful.
And then a process, as I started working through the chakras, then I really started opening myself up to light language. And I would say the light language that I speak is different.
Is it something that you can do on command, or do you need to get into a certain state to be able to do that?
Oh, no, I opened it up. I feel like once you really connect with your soul's light language, it just flows.
Mm-hmm. Okay, because I've had other people on the show that do speak light language that actually share it on the show. So I'm not putting you on the spot, but if you are called at some point during our conversation to share anything, then I offer that to you. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I could share Arcturian light language. So this is what I use to activate people's divine blueprints. So let me just see if there's something that specifically that they want to activate today. Okay, so they just said a heart activation because right now we're really learning to live and open from our heart. And then try to clear some of the distortions that we're all holding around love. And then we're going to bring in the crystalline light. And the crystalline light also allows us to see through the distortions in this reality. It clears and cleanses our energy. It activates and upgrades the DNA. So I'm going to do a heart activation. I'm going to ask that your angels, if you're listening to this, I'm going to ask that your guides and angels send you so much love while I do this. Dia, 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 dia. Akia, kia, kia, simia, tua, kia, simia, tua, kia, sia, asia, asia. And then we're just going to bring in the crystalline light. Just take a couple deep breaths in this beautiful crystalline light. This beautiful light flows down and through the crown, clearing and cleansing the crown. This beautiful light flows down into your third eye, clearing, cleansing, and activating your third eye. We're just going to activate the third eye and connect it to the heart and energetically weave the heart and the third eye together so that you can start using your spiritual abilities from a place of love. So we're going to activate the third eye. And then we're just going to weave together the third eye and the heart. Dia, 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 dia. Kia, kia. So we're just going to continue to bring this crystalline light down through the heart, the solar plexus, the sacral, and the root. And then just sealing this activation today in the crystalline light. Beautiful. And then the Octurians are just saying that They're just sending so much love to anybody listening.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, of course.
Well, and it gives people a sample of the kind of work that you do. So, yeah, I completely felt all of that energy. And now I've got full body tingles. And so one of my clairs is clairsentience. So that's how I know I receive all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that so much. I am so passionate about talking about I'm so passionate talking about spiritual abilities because I really think that if we go into our traumas and we're not afraid to go into our traumas, our spiritual abilities are on the other side of that. And so that's why, especially when I was healing from that addiction, when I was doing those meditations, of Joe Dispenza's, I would just sit there and let myself cry for hours and hours because I'd never let myself feel my emotions before. But then once I got all that emotion out of my body, it's like the Octurians were there waiting for me and saying like, congratulations, now you get to play with this gift. Now you get to learn about this spiritual experience. Or every time I did really deep healing, then my clairvoyance was turned up even more. And so I really want people to know that on the other side of your trauma truly are your superpowers. Like, we don't just have spiritual abilities, we all have superpowers that we can tap into. And never in my life did I think that my life would be like this. I have entered a space of surrender just because I never could have imagined this life for myself.
Well,
It all came to me.
well, so yeah, share how it has transformed you even more. Like, what does your life look like now?
So I just really love helping people. I started coaching people and I realized I'm just an empowerment coach because I am always going to give people the tools that I use that help me the most. That's why I'm always telling people about Joe Dispenza. I'm always telling people about BQH. Just right now is really the time of action and taking actual conscious action in your life. And I think there's also a lot of, like, waiting sometimes when people go through an awakening. They think that, like, "Oh, this event's gonna happen," or, "Oh, I'm just gonna wait until something happens." And so I'm just here to show people how fast your life can change when you do face your trauma, even though it's the most terrifying thing in the world. I promise you're strong enough to go into it, and the world is so much more magical on the other side. Like, I feel like my life has turned into helping people find their truest soul's essence and experiencing like this world from a childlike curiosity, because that's where our true happiness is.
It is. And that's one of the things that my Arcturians love sharing about is really following your passion, being in a state of play, being in that higher joy and love vibration. And so, yeah, that's how we are here to usher in the new earth and really transition that. So, for people that might be interested in working with you, I'm assuming that you can do stuff remotely because not everyone's in New York.
Yes, yeah. So my website is awakenedheartbqh.com, and they can, or most of my sessions are over Zoom. If you do a divine blueprint activation, that is actually a recording that I record by myself, and then I work with their higher self to go through the divine blueprint, clear and cleanse their energy. And I really try, like, I do past lives clearing. Some I do give space for galactics to come through or to give you clarity on like your galactic family, past lives in the galactics, but I really tried to give people grounded tools and techniques to change their life, because I think that that's what is most important.
Yeah, I agree, because we are, even though we are, connected to all of that, we are also here to live this human experience and be, the most earth human love, whatever. I don't even but yeah, we are meant to actually embody this human experience. That's why we're here. That's why we chose to consciously be in this part of the reality. But knowing that we are connected to everything.
Absolutely. And I was catapulted into a starseed awakening, and I was catapulted into the galactics, even though I had never even known of any of this before. And then I just kind of went all in to what is the awakening, what are starseeds, who are the galactics that are around us. And I realized again that I was going outside of myself, trying to get as much information as I possibly could, to where I was still kind of running away from my human experience during my starseed awakening. And it's actually beautiful because I had this Octurian with me for probably about a year and a half, where she was teaching me divine blueprint activation. She was teaching me about the galactics. She was teaching me about the matrices of planets and the divine blueprint of this realm and what it was actually supposed to be. And I'm so grateful for her. But the day that I stood in my own sovereignty and I said, this is me, I just need me and my higher self, and I stood in that empowerment, I felt her actually leave my body. And she was like, congratulations, you don't need me anymore. And it was emotional, but it was so beautiful. And so they really are here to help us. They want the best for us, but we have all of the same abilities as them.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, so now then, because you have fully embodied that you are one and the same, and you're activated. So do you still have communication, kind of like an external kind of communication with her, or it's just you are her, so it just comes through?
Yeah, before, when we would communicate, it's like she did feel like she was within. It felt like I had to go within to communicate with her.
Yeah.
And now I felt her actually leave my body, and now like I can speak telepathically with her, but it does feel like I'm speaking outside of myself now. But she
Okay.
is still there supporting me.
Mhm.
And then the other Octurians that have been supporting me along my journey as well.
Okay. So what is there any information that they feel is necessary to share, or you feel necessary to share with the audience? Words of wisdom or things that you have learned from them?
I think the biggest is just being aware if you're giving your power away to the galactics, because the galactics are so beautiful and we get very excited. And I know that I love them so much too, because they're a part of my galactic family. But we have to be aware when we're giving our power away from them, away to them, or when we are thinking that the galactics are going to come and save us, or we are in a state of waiting because we think that something's going to happen. And so just being completely in your empowerment, they're here to help us, to support us, to hold a space of love for us, but just not being dependent on them.
Okay. And I think that's a really good thing. And one of the things I'm here to do is like open people's minds that they do exist, that they are real, and to be that bridge, that ambassador for that. But then, like, people who really already know that they are connected, really, like you said very beautifully, that it's not putting them up on a pedestal. It's realizing whoever you're resonating with, that is you. Like you are that. Yeah.
Yeah, and now when I talk to my clients about the different types of star seeds or the different kind of extraterrestrials, I explain it more as like a frequency that you're holding. So if you're a Lyran star seed, you're holding that Lyran feline energy of you're most likely an incredible healer. And if you have that Arcturian frequency, then you're very loving and probably more mental. And so now I really kind of see it as like you have most likely been a star seed or a different kind of being in all of these different families. It's just that you chose to hold that specific frequency in this lifetime because that is what is benefiting you the most in the purpose that you have in this lifetime, the things that you want to do. But most likely you've belonged to more than just one specific extraterrestrial family.
Yeah. And well, and I love that because for me, I mean, we are all multidimensional beings, right? Living these parallel lives. And so when I started channeling the Arcturians, it took me a moment to realize I'm just channeling myself from that realm. But then they were like, okay, it's time to bring in some of your other groups. And so then they brought in 12 additional races. And really, for me to feel comfortable with that, I was like, oh, it's just me. I'm just bringing in me from those other frequencies, those other dimensional realms. And so then I was able to like, okay, there is no separation. It made it more real in that way. And I think we as Earth humans, we like to feel like we belong to part of a group, like very tribal, like, you know, like even sports teams, like, oh, you know, what I'm a football team, or politics, or, oh, I'm an American, you know, all of that. So the more that we try to separate ourselves and be like, well, I am this. No, you're everything.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I've seen this, you see it in all the different communities, but it happens in the Starseed community as well, where they're like, I'm Pleiadian and I'm Arcturian.
Yeah. So I love that you brought in that, yeah, whatever star seed you think you are, it really, you're just, that's the frequency that wants to come through. But you can bring the others in if you choose to as well. And that's, I think, for me, you know, I'm here to bring in all of the different energies just because I signed up for it.
Yeah, that is really cool. Do you want me to read your divine blueprint? That would actually be really cool.
I accept, yes.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Okay, so first of all, before we do this, we're just going to protect this session completely in the Christ light through the power of Christ, only allowing Lisa's higher self to be here with us today, clearing any energy or beings from this space. So let's go into your heart blueprint. Have you ever tapped into your blueprint?
I don't know. Perhaps, because yeah, I've not, like, whatever you're doing, this would probably be my first time because this is your modality.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so we're going to open the heart chakra. So when I opened the heart chakra, did you get any visions? Because I know a lot of times, like, the client will get visions also.
I just felt an expansion.
Yeah, so I got this image of a lotus flower, and it felt like there were galactic branches. It felt like there's, on each petal of the lotus flower, there's of the 12 races on each petal, and it was branching up and opening from your heart chakra. And then it feels like the center is the Octurian, where that's your home base. And then the rest is just branching out into the rest of the world. And then your other superpower is definitely your third eye. You have a really strong third eye. And you have this beautiful ability to be really grounded also. So your root chakra is really important to your blueprint, because your root chakra is allowing you to be more grounded than most while you're talking about the galactics and sharing this information. I'm just seeing if there's anything else they want you to know. It's so funny because, like, you have the alien behind you, but for a moment, it felt like an actual Octurian. And it feels like they're all behind you. It's beautiful.
Beautiful. Well,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you
welcome.
so much. And so, when people work with you, is it just like one session, or do they need multiple sessions to really fully experience what you do?
So it can be done in one session. So in one session, one divine blueprint activation, I start by really cleansing the energy, just because sometimes there are a lot of things that we have to get through just to get to the blueprint. So people that have attachments, or people that are holding on to a lot of emotion and have a lot of energetic blocks, or they need a lot of past lives cleared. We have to clear those before we can even get to the blueprint. And then when I open up each chakra, I usually shine like some kind of light into it. Your chakras actually felt really good. Like I could get straight to the blueprint that I was looking for.
Well, I would just do want to say something about that. So when I do my UFO tours, when we do the extended spiritual tour, I help clear and balance the chakras as part of the meditative journey. So when I'm doing that for people, I know it's working on me as well. So I do that a lot. So thank you for the confirmation.
Yeah, I could feel it. Yeah, so then I work through each chakra. So I open the blueprint of each chakra, because each chakra brings its own blueprint and its own spiritual ability. So like a person with a really powerful root chakra, either they're very grounded in their reality, and a lot of people think that that's like nature and connecting to water, but I actually see grounded as like you're able to maneuver through this 3D reality. Like you understand how the 3D reality works. And like a lot of times you're good in business and you can actually just function. Like you're not trying to run away to another planet.
I do resonate with that very strongly. And what's interesting is the island that I live on the Big Island, which is the root chakra of the islands.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that. Yeah, in your announcements, when you were saying your upcoming events, I was like, that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
People should do that. Also, I see a lot of like grid work. Like if people are doing grid work when they're sleeping, or sometimes people just like live in certain areas of this world and they have no idea why. They're like, oh, I just felt like I had to move there. A lot of that is held in the root chakra.
Yeah, well, and I moved here 3.5 years ago to Hawaii, and I knew I just had to be here, and this is home. Like I feel very rooted here.
Yeah, and when that heart chakra is open and you just allow it to lead you wherever it needs to go, then your root chakra will just ground you where you need to be. So that's beautiful.
Yeah, well, you must have needed to have your energy in New York City.
Yeah, there's something here. There's definitely something here. I think mostly I just needed to get away from Colorado and completely changed my environment because I was in such a bad environment. There is incredible energy in New York. You definitely feel it when you come in here.
Yeah. So how has your family accepted this work that you do? Do you have communication with them, or are they like, oh my God, she's cuckoo, or they fully embrace it?
My parents are very understanding. I'm very lucky for the parents that I have. I've done sessions for all of them. My dad was kind of like, "Why are you doing that with your mouth? What is that coming out of you?" He's like, "Why don't you like play singing bowls or something during?" And I was like, "Okay, Dad." So that was pretty funny, but they've always been so supportive. My dad actually feels really connected to the Anunnaki, so I showed him a lot of Anunnaki videos, and it was definitely very activating for him. So that was really cool.
Okay. And how about, have you been able to build community, like spiritual community, where you have support for this work that you do as well?
Yeah, so I do have a membership on Patreon. It's the Quantum Awakening Portal, where I do group hypnosis. I have a lot of BQH channelings on there where I channel the galactics, I channel Jesus, my higher self. We really create space for whoever wants to come through. We're going through the Course of Miracles because I absolutely love the Course of Miracles. So that is probably the best community that I have created.
Okay, beautiful. Well, in our last little bit of time here, is there anything else you want to share about your work or anything else? It's open to you.
Let's see if the Octurians have a message that they want to end on. So we are going to root into safety and security, especially with the next 2 months on this planet of the elections and things coming up. It's time to really root into safety and be grounded in the security of your own body. And so when you wake up in the morning, we urge you to just ground yourself into the safety of your own body. When triggers come up for you, when old emotions start to come up for you, when things in your environment come up for you, when you start to have any kind of physical response, take a deep breath and just come back into the safety and the security of your own body. Because your safety and security is also a portal to your spiritual abilities. And we have to love our bodies so that we can use the technology of our bodies. So the Octurians are very much about the technology of the human body, about using our spiritual abilities from a place of love. And so if you're interested in using your spiritual abilities, really ground yourself and root yourself into safety. So instead of wanting to run away or wanting to just wait for things to flow over, just come back into the safety of your own body and ask yourself, what do you need? What do you need to feel safe? What do you need to feel happy? What from within you needs to feel safe? Is there a little inner child within you that needs to feel safe, that needs a hug, that needs a big hug? And then you can always call upon benevolent Octurians to come and help you, to show you love, and ask them to send you love until you can feel that love within yourself if you're having a problem finding it first. So the Octurians are just saying, we love you so much. We are so grateful that you're here and you are safe. You are safe because you are eternal. And your soul is more beautiful, more magnificent, and bigger than you could ever imagine. And that is what you are here to remember.
Beautiful. Love that message. And I, again, I can feel that in my body. And I know like all of our Arcturians are all around us.
It's a big Arcturian party today.
Totally. And I love what you say about that love, because when I did meet them, it was the most pure love I have ever felt. So much beyond this earth, human existence. And it was overwhelming how much love it was. So for anyone who needs really to understand that, call in the Arcturian energy. So
yeah, absolutely. And I also love how they always remind me to connect to my body. And I think so I'm only 5 feet tall, and my weight has fluctuated over 300 pounds
oh wow.
because in my addiction, I would gain 60 pounds, lose 60 pounds, gain 60 pounds, lose 60 pounds at a time. And it's not until now where I have finally stepped back and like learned how to change my limiting beliefs and changed my thought processes and taken a step back to be the observer in my life. But they always reconnect me with my body. And that connection to my body has completely changed everything to me, because in my addiction, I never cared what I was doing to my body, in my fentanyl addiction and in my food addictions. And so coming back and just telling my body how much I love it and how grateful I am for it. And the more I do that, the more I have access to my spiritual abilities. We're all working together.
Perfect. So you mentioned your membership community. You did mention your website. So say the website one more time, and then what socials you're on, if any.
awakenedheartbqh.com. So I do BQH. You can do a divine blueprint activation with me. And then I have my Patreon Quantum Awakening portal. And then I also have a YouTube channel, which is at Brooklyn Quantum Healing.
Okay, beautiful. And we'll have those links and everything posted on the YouTube and the podcast outlets. So thank you so much for being here with me, Ceirra. It's been really a pleasure. And thank you for the work that you do. You're one of these beautiful bright lights, and for really coming in and having, the hard part to then emerge as the rising phoenix that you have.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah. And for those of you watching or listening, thank you so much for being here too. And I'll see you next time on Connection to the Cosmos. Aloha.